The rubber wheels of Alara Vance's wheelchair hummed softly against the polished linoleum as she navigated the bustling corridors of Northwood Academy. 6 months ago, she would have been striding through these halls, probably late for class like half the other students rushing past her. 6 months ago, everything had been different. The car accident still played in her mind, a sudden screech, a moment of weightlessness, then nothing until she awoke in a hospital bed, her parents' worried faces hovering above her. The doctors had spoken of spinal injury with careful, clinical words, a reality both easier and harder to accept. "Excuse me, sorry," she murmured as a cluster of students, engrossed in their conversation, momentarily blocked her path. They shuffled aside with distracted apologies, and Alara continued toward her locker, observing the social landscape of her new school. Northwood was larger than her old school in Crestview, more affluent, with hallways designed to showcase athletic trophies. Students moved in clearly defined cliques. The athletes with their varsity jackets, the drama kids, the academic overachievers already buried in textbooks despite it being only the second week. "That's her." She overheard a voice behind her, not quite quiet enough. The new girl in the chair. Ilaire's hands tightened on her wheels, but she kept moving, pretending not to hear. She'd grown accustomed to being noticed for all the wrong reasons since the accident, but it still stung. "Think she was born like that or something?" Another voice added, "Probably a car accident. My mom said her dad worked security now at some office building." The voices belonged to 3 boys leaning against a row of lockers. The tallest, Reese, possessed the easy confidence of someone who'd never doubted his place, broad-shouldered, perfectly styled hair, and a smirk that suggested he found most things amusing. His jacket marked him as a football player, probably varsity. "Reese, come on, don't be a jerk," one of the companions, Ben, said, though his tone lacked conviction. "What?" "I'm just asking questions, Ben. It's called being curious about our new classmate." Reese's voice carried that fake innocence Alara recognized from years of martial arts training, the tone people use right before they try to get away with something. She reached her locker and began working the combination, hyper-aware of their ongoing conversation. "Besides," Reese continued, his voice dropping just enough to seem conspiratorial yet perfectly audible, "I bet she gets all kind of special treatment now. Probably extra time on tests, first pick of parking spots. Teachers going easy on her because they feel sorry for her." "Dude, that's messed up." The third boy, Leo, laughed. "What's messed up, Leo?" "I'm just saying if I had to be in a wheelchair, I'd totally milk it for everything it was worth. Get out of gym, skip assemblies, maybe even get into college easier because of diversity quotas." Ilara's jaw clenched as she pulled her chemistry textbook from her locker. These were the comments that made her want to stand up and walk over, to show them exactly what she thought of their assumptions. But she couldn't stand, and that was the cruel point of it all. "I heard her family moved here because her dad lost his job, been added, like maybe he was drunk driving when they crashed or something." That was it. Ilara spun her chair around to face them, her dark eyes flashing with controlled anger. "My father has never had a drink in his life," she said clearly, her voice cutting through their chatter. "And I can hear everything you're saying." The 3 boys looked genuinely surprised. Reese recovered first, his smirk widening. "Hey, sorry about that. We didn't mean anything by it, just, trying to figure out the new dynamics around here." He spread his hands in a gesture meant to be apologetic, but came across as condescending. "I'm Reese, by the way. This is Leo and Ben. Welcome to Northwood." "Thanks," Ilara said flatly, not offering her name. "So, what happened?" Leo asked with the blunt curiosity of someone who'd never learned that some questions shouldn't be asked. "I mean, if you don't mind sharing." Ilara stared at him, weighing her options. She could tell them it was none of their business, or she could give them just enough truth to shut them up. "Car accident," she said simply. 6 months ago." "That sucks," Ben offered, already losing interest. "Yeah," Reese agreed, but something in his expression had shifted, like he was filing this information away for later use. "Well, if you need anything, just let us know. We're always happy to help out." The bell rang, signaling the start of first period. Ilara watched the 3 boys saunter toward the main staircase, their body language radiating the casual confidence that came from never having to worry about accessibility or acceptance. She had a feeling she'd be seeing more of them. 3 weeks into the semester, Elara had established a routine around Northwood's limitations. She arrived early, took long routes to classes with ramp access, and had memorized which bathrooms were truly accessible. I still can't believe they put the accessible bathroom on the 3rd floor when all your classes are on the first 2, Chloe Davis said, walking beside Alara's wheelchair as they headed to lunch. Chloe had transferred from out of state the same week, and their shared outsider status had quickly blossomed into friendship. "It's fine," Alara replied, though they both knew it wasn't. "I've gotten good at planning ahead." "That's not the point. You shouldn't have to plan your entire day around basic human needs, because this place was designed by people who never considered that disabled students might want to attend." Alara appreciated Chloe's anger on her behalf, but she'd learned to pick her battles. They were passing the main staircase when Reese's voice carried down from the 2nd floor landing. "Heads up, incoming wheelchair traffic. Make sure you're not blocking the ramp." Alara looked up to see Reese, Leo, and Ben descending the stairs. Reese's comment had been loud enough for half the hallway to hear, delivered with that same fake helpful tone. "Thanks for the public service announcement," Chloe called back, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Just looking out for everyone's safety," Reese replied as they reached the bottom of the stairs. "Don't want any accidents." The word hung in the air with deliberate weight. Leo snickered, and Ben looked uncomfortable but said nothing. "You know what?" Chloe started, taking a step toward them, but Alara reached out and touched her arm. "It's not worth it," Alara said quietly. "Actually, I think your friend here has the right idea," Reese said, moving to block their path to the cafeteria. "Standing up for what's right and all that. Very admirable." "Move," Alara said simply. Of course. Wouldn't want to be accused of discrimination or anything." Reese stepped aside with exaggerated courtesy, but Leo positioned himself directly in front of Alara's wheelchair. "Oops, sorry. Didn't see you there," Leo said with mock innocence as Alara had to stop short. "Probably should get one of those little flags they put on bicycles," Ben added, finally joining in. "You know, for visibility." Alara felt a familiar burn of controlled rage building in her chest. These weren't random acts of thoughtlessness. They were calculated moves designed to humiliate her while maintaining plausible deniability. If she complained, they could claim it was all just misunderstandings. "Leo, move," Chloe said, her voice sharp with warning. "What?" "I'm just standing here." Leo spread his arms innocently. "It's a free country. I can stand wherever I want." "Not if you're deliberately blocking someone's path," Alara said, her voice steady despite the anger simmering beneath the surface. "Deliberately? That's a pretty serious accusation. You got any proof of that?" The question was rhetorical, and they all knew it. In the absence of witnesses willing to speak up or adults paying attention, it was her word against theirs. And in the social hierarchy of Northwood Academy, her word didn't carry much weight. Leo finally stepped aside, but not before drawing out the moment long enough to make his point. As they continued toward the cafeteria, Alara could hear the 3 boys laughing behind them. That afternoon, Alara sat in her family's converted garage, working through range of motion exercises with her mother, Dr. Vivian Vance, a physical therapist. Vivian had transformed the space into a professional-grade therapy setup. "Your flexibility is improving," Vivian observed. "How are you feeling about the standing exercises?" "Better. Stronger." Alara gritted her teeth through a challenging movement. "I want to increase the frequency." "Alara, we've talked about this. Recovery isn't a race. Pushing too hard, too fast, can actually set you back." "I'm not pushing too hard. I'm pushing as hard as I need to." Vivian studied her daughter's expression, recognizing the stubborn determination. "Is something happening at school?" Alara hesitated. Her parents had enough to worry about. Just the usual stuff. New school, new people. The usual stuff doesn't usually make you want to triple your physical therapy sessions. Before Alara could respond, the garage door opened and Arthur Vance entered, still in a security uniform. He assessed the scene with the trained eye of someone who'd spent years reading body language. "How's our patient today?" he asked, but his tone suggested he'd already picked up on the frustration. "Determined," Vivian replied. "Maybe too determined." Arthur knelt beside Ilara's mat. You want to tell me what's really going on? Ilara looked between her parents. Seeing her mother's concerned professionalism, her father's patient strength. They'd already sacrificed so much for her, relocating, adjusting careers. Just some kids at school, she said finally. Nothing I can't handle. Arthur nodded slowly. You know, handling something doesn't always mean handling alone. I know, but some fights are mine to fight. And some fights are worth fighting smart instead of hard. Ilara met her father's eyes. Understanding passed between them. Arthur had taught her that strength came in many forms, and sometimes the strongest thing you could do was wait for the right moment. By November, the harassment had escalated. Reese's group had developed a routine of accidentally blocking accessible pathways, making loud comments about disability benefits, and timing their movements to create maximum inconvenience. The breaking point came on a gray Tuesday afternoon as Ilara and Chloe made their way to the student parking lot. I swear, if Mr. Davies assigns another group project, I'm going to lose it, Chloe was saying as they approached her car. Chloe, Ilara interrupted, her voice tense. She'd spotted Reese, Leo, and Ben lounging against a nearby pickup truck, watching their approach. Maybe we should go back inside, wait for them to leave? No, Ilara's jaw set. I'm not hiding from them anymore. They continued toward the car. As Ilara began transferring from her wheelchair to the passenger seat, a process requiring her to slide from the chair onto the car seat, while Chloe folded the wheelchair, Reese's voice cut across the parking lot. Hey, look at that. Daily gymnastics show. Leo laughed. Better than cable TV. Ilara tried to ignore them, focusing on the transfer, but their commentary continued. Wonder if she gets extra credit for degree of difficulty? Ben added, Shut up. Chloe snapped, positioning herself between Ilara and the boys while still helping with the wheelchair. Whoa, hostile much. Reese said, pushing off in the truck. We're just appreciating performance. That's when Ilara realized they weren't just talking. They were walking over, all three of them, moving with a casual swagger of people who'd never faced real consequences. You know what? Reese said, arriving at the car just as Chloe was folding Ilara's wheelchair. I've always wondered what it's like to ride in one of those things. Don't even think about it. Chloe warned, but Reese was already reaching for the wheelchair handles. Come on, just for a second. I bet it's like a really slow go-kart. Get your hands off my chair, Ilara said from the passenger seat, her voice deadly quiet. Relax. I'm not going to break it. Just want to see how it works. Reese pulled the wheelchair away from the car, despite Chloe's attempts to stop him. Leo and Ben moved to block Chloe from interfering as Reese settled into Ilara's wheelchair. Oh, wow, this is actually pretty comfortable. No wonder you're in no hurry to get out of it. You need to stop, Ilara said, her hands clenched into fists. From her position in the car, she was completely helpless to intervene physically. Stop what? I'm just testing out the equipment, making sure it's safe for public use. Reese began wheeling around the parking lot in wide circles, Leo and Ben jogging alongside him like an entourage. This is actually pretty fun. Ben, you got to try this. Reese, give it back, Chloe demanded, but Leo stepped in front of her. He's just having a little fun. Don't be such a buzzkill. The scene was attracting attention from other students loading into their cars. But instead of intervening, they pulled out their phones to record. Some were laughing, treating it like entertainment. Others looked uncomfortable, but made no move to help. Ilara watched in helpless rage as Reese performed wheelies in her chair, whooping with delight. The sight of him treating her mobility device like a toy while she sat trapped in the car, unable to do anything, was more humiliating than any of their previous harassment. Look, I'm doing tricks, Reese announced, attempting to spin the wheelchair in a tight circle. The chair tilted dangerously, nearly toppling. You're going to break it, Ilara shouted, her composure finally cracking. What? This thing's built like a tank. Probably costs more than my car, right? Insurance must be paying for all kind of fancy upgrades. Leo had taken his turn in the chair and was now racing Ben. The sound of their laughter mixed with the squeal of rubber wheels on asphalt created a soundtrack of pure humiliation. Please, Ilara said, hating the word as soon as it left her mouth, but desperate to get her chair back. I needed to get around. Of course you do, Reese said, finally climbing out of the wheelchair. But instead of returning it, he left it sitting 20 feet away from the car. There you go. Good as new. Bring it here. Chloe demanded. What? You can't walk 20 feet. Oh, wait. Reese's smirk widened. I guess you can't. They walked away, laughing, leaving Alara stranded in the passenger seat and Chloe standing helplessly beside the car. Other students who had witnessed the scene quickly dispersed, clearly wanting to avoid any association. Chloe retrieved Alara's wheelchair, her hand shaking with anger as she checked it for damage. Those absolute jerks were reporting this right now. To who? Alara asked bitterly. The administration that's been ignoring everything else they've done? To someone, anyone. This can't be legal. But as they drove home in silence, both girls knew the truth. Without adult witnesses or clear evidence of intent to harm, it would be treated as teenage horseplay gone too far. The boys would claim they were just having fun, never meaning any harm. Sorry if feelings got hurt. That night, Alara lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of the parking lot incident. The laughter, the phones recording her humiliation, the casual cruelty disguised as entertainment. But mixed with the anger was something else, a cold, focused determination that reminded her of the mindset she'd cultivated during years of martial arts training. Her father was right about one thing. She'd been thinking like a victim, hoping for rescue that wasn't coming. Maybe it was time to start thinking like a fighter again. The change in Alara's training regimen was subtle but significant. Where before she had approached her physical therapy with determined hope, now she attacked each exercise with focused intensity that bordered on fierce. Easy, Vivian cautioned as Alara pushed through her third set of core strengthening exercises. Your muscles need time to rebuild. You can't force progress. I'm not forcing anything, Alara replied through gritted teeth, maintaining her plank position despite the tremor in her arms. I'm just done accepting limitations. Arthur watched from the doorway, recognizing the shift in his daughter's mindset. It was the same transformation he'd witnessed in soldiers who'd stopped hoping for rescue and started planning their own escape. Show me the standing progression again, Alara said after completing her floor work. Alara, we just did that yesterday. Your body needs. My body needs to remember what it's capable of. Alara transferred to parallel bars, gripping the rails with white knuckles. How long can I maintain weight bearing now? About 2 minutes. But that's significant progress from, I want to get to 5 minutes by Christmas. Vivian and Arthur exchanged glances. Christmas was 6 weeks away. That might be aggressive, Vivian said carefully. Everything about this situation is aggressive. While Alara pushed her physical limits at home, the boys at school were growing bolder. Reese's talk with Assistant Principal Davies had lasted exactly 3 minutes and consisted mainly of Davies explaining that pranks should be kept in good fun. Basically a free pass, Reese told Leo and Ben as they watched Alara navigate the crowded hallway during lunch. As long as we don't leave any marks, we're golden. They had developed a new game, strategic positioning. One of them would plant themselves directly in Alara's path at bottleneck points, forcing her to ask them to move or find another route. When she asked politely, they'd comply with exaggerated courtesy. When she tried alternate routes, they'd follow. Today, Ben decided to escalate. As Alara approached the cafeteria entrance, he positioned himself in the wheelchair-accessible doorway and pretended to be absorbed in his phone. Excuse me, Alara said. Ben looked up with feigned surprise. Oh, sorry, didn't see you there. He stepped aside, but only far enough that Alara had to squeeze through the gap. As she passed, he mumbled, just loud enough for her to hear. Maybe she'd get one of those backup beepers. Alara stopped her wheelchair and turned to face him. What did you say? Nothing. Just thinking out loud about traffic safety. The cafeteria felt unusually quiet as other students sensed confrontation. Alara studied Ben's face, noting the smug satisfaction barely concealed behind his innocent expression. You know what I think? She said, her voice carrying clearly through the sudden silence. I think you're a coward who only feels big when he's picking on someone he thinks can't fight back. Ben's face flushed red. What did you call me? You heard me. Reese and Leo materialized at Ben's sides, the pack instinct kicking in. Problem here? Reese asked, though his tone suggested he was hoping for one. No problem. Hilaire replied calmly. Just making an observation about people who mistake cruelty for courage. Careful, Leo said, stepping closer to her wheelchair. You're starting to sound ungrateful for all the help we've been giving you around here. Help. Hilaire's laugh was sharp with disbelief. Is that what you call it? We've been nothing but accommodating.